Thank you for tuning in to another story from Goodbye Cycles. This is another one of our coffee mug stories. This is a story about the most incredible pass in four-cross history of a guy pushing the edge so to the point where it was either disaster or victory. Let's talk about Michal Marosi's pass in four-cross back in 2013. And as always, this is told from the coffee cup that was sitting on his workbench. All right, let's ride into it. I wasn't born into a gentle life. Some mugs, they start out in soft kitchens, hearing quiet conversations, morning yawns, maybe holding some chamomile tea beside a fruit bowl. Not me. My first assignment was to hold hot steaming coffee on a mountain that vibrated with tires, chains, and pure adrenaline. One morning, I was boxed. The next, I was sitting on a shaky table beside the start of the JBC four-cross Revelation race. And the countdown began. 3, 2, 1, beep. And just like that, the air smelled like pine sap, brake dust, and that nervous sweat that's just pouring off for every rider. The ground shuddered every time the rider launched from the starting platform. The coffee inside me rippled like tiny earthquakes were happening underneath. And that's when I first saw him, Michal Marosi. Now, to most people, he was just another rider in the queue. One helmet, one jersey, one blur of color. But the mountain knew. The mechanics knew. Even the spectators leaned in forward without realizing it. Something in the air changed when he walked by. Most riders fidget. They're at the starting line, they bounce on their pedals, stretch too much, tell nervous jokes, check the tire pressure 5 times, even though nothing has changed. But not Michal. He crouched beside his bicycle like a lion before it wants to pounce. Calm, coiled, ready. Sunlight landed on the dust across his shoulders, turning him to gold. To the dark trees behind him, he tapped his bars, just once. A tiny, perfect motion, not superstition, precision. This old dented water bottle lay beside me, and he muttered, "That's Marosi. He's a BMX legend turned 4X rider. That guy, he doesn't know how to quit." I didn't know it yet, but that last part would matter more than anything. And then something happened, subtle but real, like a shadow crossing him from inside, not outside. That's what he saw, wasn't the mountain. What he saw was home. A narrow courtyard tucked between 2 old Soviet apartment blocks. Cracked concrete, laundry lines overhanging, a cold air drifting in from somewhere nearby. A younger version of him pedaled through that courtyard on a battered BMX, mismatched tires. Older kids shouted challenges. Jump this curb, ride that staircase, drop in from that ledge. This wasn't his playground. This was his proving ground. And there was this concrete flood wall near a river. Steep, tempting, just a little dangerous. Every day it called to him. Ride it, try it, go higher. The first time, he slid down, scraped his elbow, and all he did, he shrugged it off with a laugh. The next day he tried again, and again. He had no coaches. There was no YouTube videos. There were no tutorials. It was just his instinct and pavement. While other riders learned techniques from instructors, he learned from riding concrete. While others practiced lines drawn by builders, he practiced lines drawn by imagination. He didn't know it then, but he was building a relationship with walls and angles, timing, tire pressure, commitment that no one else on that mountain understood. And then the memory dissolved, and he was back at the starting line. The Revelation course wasn't a track. It was a creature. It rewarded courage, punished hesitation, rollers that bucked riders like bulls, wood sections that demanded instinct, jumps that separated the brave from the broken. And near the end, the wall ride was tall, steep, painted in a crescent that leaned into the skyline. Like a dare, its surface scarred by tire marks and bad decisions. Nobody, and I mean nobody, rode to the top of the ridge. Before the semifinals, before podium pressure, just an early heat. 4 riders, 2 advance, the gate dropped, dust explodes, and Michael blasted forward, clean, fast, controlled, until the massive roller jump. Most riders, they pumped it. They would roll these big rollers. He didn't. He sent it. He sent it. Huge whip. Sideways, traumatic, staring at the crowd. The kind that makes photographers grasp. He went too big. Overcleared, came down sideways, hit the earth with this enormous thud, and just bounced off the hillside. His bike pinballed between the rollers. Dust erupted. The announcer's voice cracked. He didn't move for a second or two, just long enough for the crowd to think, he's done. The 3 riders blasted past him. Gone. Then he stood up. No checking himself. No shaking off injury. And he rose up. Not checking for injury. Not shaking off injury. No. Not even looking around for embarrassment. Just grabbed his handlebars, swung a leg over, and started pedaling. Dead last. Hopelessly behind. The gap felt so big, felt like he was in an entirely different race. But he attacked the course. Like gravity had personally offended him. Power in every pedal stroke, riding with instinct through the woods, closing the gap inch by inch. Kids began shouting. Parents leaned in. The mechanics stopped breathing. He wasn't supposed to be catching, but he was. He shot out of the trees suddenly, impossibly, back in the fight, and the riders had no clue he was coming. They entered low, took the safe, predictable path. They weren't racing each other, not imagining anyone else had rejoined the battle. But Michael, he entered that corner faster than any other rider that day. Instead of taking the low line or the middle, he climbed the wall. Higher, higher, higher. He climbed the wall to the top ridge, the forbidden line. He was 1 bad inch away from a major disaster. And all of a sudden, time stopped. People froze. Photographers were like, they forgot to shoot. They didn't know what was going on. The mountain itself seemed to take a breath. And then he dropped it. Not from a mistake, by design. A controlled dive from the ridge, trading height for blistering speed, slingshot physics, pure instinct. He shot past the other riders like they were standing still. And the crowd detonated. All you could hear is, he's passing them on the wall. I can't believe this. Even the racers were turning their head mid-run as if they needed to witness or confirm what was actually happening. He ripped through that final berm, blasted across the finish line first. Not second, not nice recovery. First, the mountain went silent for about a half a second. And then it just erupted. People were scrambling, jumped, hugged strangers, pointed at the wall ride like they had just witnessed a miracle. Even in the staging area, the whispers started. I've never seen anything like that. He was done. That wasn't racing. That was a resurrection. That wasn't skill. That was will. When the chaos faded and the sun dipped behind the trees, Michael sat alone on a stump beside his bike, his gloves half peeled off, Dirt clung to his shoulders. He didn't brag. He didn't celebrate. He didn't replay the footage. He just stared back at the mountain and he whispered, "I can do more." And he meant it. Some riders chase podiums. Some riders chase sponsors. Some chase fame. But Michael, he chased the edge of the possible. And when he found it, he rode past it, straight to the ridge. Well, that was another story brought to you by a coffee mug by Goodbye Cycle. Again, if you are looking for some certified used bicycles or just parts at a discounted rate, we have parts that are coming and going at all times. So just go to goodbyecycle.com and hopefully you'll find a part, maybe buy a certified used bicycle from us. And until next time, thanks for tuning in. And if you're listening to this on the audio version, stay tuned for the actual reaction to what happened. I remember sitting there watching it. So stay tuned.